Coming to you live from the Rockstar Studios in Ames, Iowa. You are now listening to Locked In with Coach RB. We're your one-stop shop for all things related to coaching college basketball.
Hello everybody, I'm your host Randy Brown, and today we have a very special episode for you. I'm excited to dive into this, but first, a brief message from our sponsor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Make sure to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. We're here at Locked In with Coach RB. Have a really intriguing special guest with us today, Max Pendery. You know, the topic today is how you move from NAIA to a Power 5 conference in Division I basketball, and then find yourself in a fantastic situation at a Power Division II in the state of Oklahoma. That is his story. And as we say in this business, we all have a different story. You can never script it, but boy, it's good to look back and see where people have been and how it happened. And that's what Max is going to share with you today. The biggest takeaway, I think, for all the young guys is just going to be perseverance. You never know what each step leads to. And, you know, the old golden rule is really important. You know, you work your tail off and be good to everybody along the way. So, Max, welcome to Locked In.
Thanks, Coach. Happy to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Well, you are a guy that excelled in my elite coach mentoring. And by excelled, I mean that, you know, some of the coaches that come into the program are just sort of looking for their hand to be held. They're looking for maybe a faster, quick fix than is realistic. And you didn't. You took a workman's attitude toward coming in the program. And I think that's why you've done so well, because I think you really studied while you were with us. And could you just briefly talk about your experience in the program with me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what got my start. You know, the kind of person that I am, when I want answers to something, you know, I'm going to Google it or search for it online somewhere. And obviously, you know, ask people I'm around, but that's kind of how we ended up connecting. I was a junior in college at that point, and I had no clue what the business was about. I didn't know, you know, I thought I could just walk in and get a GA job. I'll take a, you know, low job on the totem pole. But that's not, there's so much competition. And when you don't know the landscape, you need somebody to help guide you. But you also, like you said, you know, you got to do the work. You can't just expect your hand to be held. Mm-hmm. So we connected. I found, you know, your program on there. And you had a ton of experience, and you just wanted to share stuff with guys like me. And you knew how young I was and how dumb I was, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, everybody starts somewhere. And
you were actually in college when you contacted me.
Yeah. And
you were a junior in college?
I was a junior in college. And I was studying sports management, which is good. You know, it's good. Makes you learn about sports and the industry, you know, the NCAA and stuff. And people now look and say, like, hey, you got a job in sports, but that's the sports business side. Those entry jobs are taking and stuff. And I didn't understand that. But yeah, so like with your program, I mean, getting on calls, you know, with you personally or with a group, learning from other people, but especially from you on, you know, what to expect, you know, handwritten letters and notes to people, summer camps, and just sort of how to prove yourself through the work of the business, and not just, you know, the cheap calling people for jobs type deal,
Right.
which we all know that doesn't work,
Right.
and is insincere. So, but it also ranged not only from the coaching job business side of things, but also to, every facet of stuff. We talked about, I remember talking in depth about 3-on-3 stuff. And I think you ended up sending me some DVDs that I still, take with me today. So those X's and O's pieces are a part of it too.
Absolutely.
But the communication and other stuff, just all well-rounded part of the job. And I didn't know what the job was. I didn't know.
Right.
So you telling me the day-to-day and your experiences, sharing with other people. And I'm actually connected. It's funny that we're on this call now. I think at that time, somebody in your program was Taylor Green.
Yes.
And I'm reconnecting with him here in a little bit. He just took a new job, and learning from guys like him and just like.
Where's Taylor?
He just left Northern Colorado, and he's taking a prep high school job in I think the Houston area or Texas. And it's one of the things we're reconnecting. Is his spot there. So I know he's pumped about it, and I'm excited to hear from him on that stuff. But learning from you guys and from guys like him was awesome.
Yeah. So your first job was an NAIA job, and I remember talking with you, and you were a little surprised that the staff was so small and that your responsibilities were so big. And I remember saying, that's perfect, because you can run through A to Z all of the different things, at least get a tad of experience, if not a lot, on all these different things. And that's what happens at the lower levels, like an NAIA, some of the time, that because of a short staff, you end up getting a lot of stuff thrown to you. So I know right off the bat that was a good thing for you. I had talked to you about working camps, and so I know in and around either before or after your Cincinnati Christian experience as a coach there, you kind of accessed camps and met some good people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think I worked maybe a couple high school camps or some stuff that first summer between my senior year, graduating, and my first year.
Right.
But before that, I had just kind of been connecting with. I had an incredibly small network. Just the people that I played for in and around Cincinnati, and knew through basketball. But again, it was a small list. And you kind of give me that advice, and I hadn't even thought of camps like that before. And so I ended up working that first summer. I think I worked maybe Cincinnati. All the camps, honestly, to me now are kind of running together, but in the past. But Cincinnati, Xavier. I've worked Dayton, a camp in there somewhere. Ohio University, which is where I graduated from.
Sure.
Wasn't able to be a manager, which is a common route, but was able to work their camps and team camps and stuff like that, and meeting people through that. It's just, the people that I'm working with side by side as those camp coaches are still some of my good friends in the industry. And, they were kind of in similar paths to me, but also, the coaching staffs that you work with, and everybody has a camp director. Usually it's the director of basketball operations, or maybe it's an assistant coach or whoever it is. You're working with them. And so, and the head coach is going to pop in, they might be more involved or less involved, and to have the balls to, for lack of a better term, to go up and just talk to them and you meet people that way. And so, I still keep in touch with a long list of those people, which is great. And you learn not only from them and talking to them, but you also learn doing the job of a camp coach. You get to be right there kind of as as like a week-long intern as a representative of that basketball program, which is extremely valuable.
Yeah, it sure is. Camps, if done right, and if they're the right kind of camps, can really, really help. Yeah. that's interesting that you made the comment about your network increasing, starting at and I remember you writing down those first names, and I remember it's your high school coach, it was this person, that person. I'm like, okay, well, get ready, hang on, because we're going to do this, and we're going to do it right, and I'm going to teach you how to increase tenfold if you want. But more than that, the value and depth of the relationships that people you meet and then develop along the line is what you're doing right now. And mirrored by that is where you've gone in your career. I don't think there's any question about that. So every day, continue to do that, man. Don't let a day go by, That's really, really important. So your next spot, in fact, your next two jobs were graduate assistant positions. Division II position at Ashland in Ohio, which is an excellent program. Division II there, and you were there 2 years.
Yeah, getting that job was great for me, and I loved Cincinnati Christian and the coaches I worked with there. It was fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a better start. And then went to Ashland and coached with two of my best friends, and John Allenwood, the head coach, still there now, and Rob Gardner, the assistant, and also Brooke Turson, he's actually the assistant there now. Rob has since moved on. But that was a great environment for me once again to be a part of a smaller staff and learn and grow both through the people that I was with and the opportunity of being in the position I was, being able to write scouting reports, with my recommendations to the coaches, walk through. I had the baseline out of bounds that last year there. They ended up trusting me with that, which was a great learning experience. Learning by doing.
Absolutely.
I think learning by doing in our industry is still undervalued. There's from the outside world, people getting into the business, there's this glamour to it of, the social media posts and, hey, I'm on the court at Bud Walton Arena, which is Arkansas's arena I was with last year. And that's great. I mean, it's fun. It's a great environment. It's, a big reason of why we're drawn to it. But the learning that I still think I took it a small part of it for granted of learning by doing. I was the JV coach both at Cincinnati Christian for those 3 years and at Ashland for those two years. And I kind of, looking at that at the time, I let my ego get in the way a little bit of it of, hey, I know this isn't below me, but I don't want to be seen as, just this guy like, there's Max on the sideline coaching his little team. That's cute. That's awesome. But looking back on that stuff, I learned an insane amount.
Absolutely.
And people told me that, but I didn't fully understand. I didn't fully listen to what they were saying of like, let your ego aside, coach those guys. You're going to learn a ton from it. And that's kind of, that JV part of it was a big part of my learning experience, but also at Ashland being a big part of the varsity program and helping every scout and the ideas of bouncing off each other with that small staff was incredible for such a great program too. Was and to do it with absolutely great friends of mine and mentors of mine all meant the world to me. It still does.
So I can see your network right now growing by leaps and bounds, because as you go from Cincinnati Christian to Ashland and then eventually to Arkansas, it's those people that you say were your friends and you loved working with, and not only that, but all your competitors, people you met in recruiting. I mean, people that were in the conference, people that were the commissioner of the conference, officials. I mean, it goes forever, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I'm hearing from you. So you got your you got your graduate degree at Ashland. So that's good. That's always a good one to drop in your pocket and have that. And then you turn around, and some people are going to say, well, this is crazy. You turn around with that in your pocket and you take another GA job, but there's something behind that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I joke with people still that like, before I took the job I'm with now, if I had just kept getting GA degrees, I was going to try to talk to somebody about just pushing those together into a doctorate. That would make me feel better.
Yeah.
But no, I think when you're young, and honestly, I've been so fortunate to be able to be in the position to take out student loans and find, I worked 3 jobs. You and I have talked about this millions of times. I mean, I worked 3 jobs at Cincinnati Christian for 3 years.
Yeah.
I found stuff on the side at Ashland to do. I didn't really have much time at Arkansas to do that. So I had, so student loans and parents that helped me out. Like I couldn't be here without all that stuff. Right. So blessed and fortunate to be in those positions, to be able to make it through. And I didn't, so I'm now just getting a full-time job in this business.
Yes.
I'm going to year 7.
Yes.
So 6 years without, people, so that transition from graduate assistant to graduate assistant, you look at, there's 2 things I look at in my next job. When I am looking for a next job, and that's not always, most of the time I'm wanting to do a good job at where I'm at, and that's, you're on an interview every day. So, and that means a ton to me. That's why we're here. But, there's 2 things. One, how much can I learn in this next job, whether it's from those people I'm with, like I mentioned at Ashland, or the opportunity that I'm given, the position I'm in, what can I do with that? How am I relating to players, other people? How am I connecting with, and what am I doing job responsibility wise to improve? And then 2, how can it get me to my next thing? And, I don't think about those things too often other than the growth part I do. But, at a place like Arkansas, that's where some of that glamour comes in. And when you talk to other people, it does pull some weight. There is some truth to that there. Like, oh, wow, you're at Arkansas. People want to talk to you more.
Sure.
But also, that staff size, of all those assistant coaches and the support staff and the head coach and the people that work there, there's a big draw there. And there was sometimes you've got to sacrifice, a handful of things to, you take responsibility and position in my opinion, when you're younger, so that you can, fill those 2 things I was just talking about and grow. So then I made that decision, and I could do it financially, taking out loans. That's obviously a big piece of it.
Yes.
And so that was a big decision for me to, and honestly, it was a really hard job search, because graduate assistant jobs are often, 2-year deals, and then, there's turnover there. And so I was worried that I was going to be out of the industry. It's a really hard, competitive industry.
Yep.
I had some other, coals in the fire, so to speak, but I felt the best about that, and I wanted to sacrifice, maybe some financial, be able to take out some loans, so that I could learn and be in a good position.
Mm-hmm. So you walk into major college basketball, and I think you told me you had a staff of 18, which is really very much on the high end of college basketball. But there's a reason, there's a method to that madness, isn't there?
Absolutely. And Coach Musselman, who I just got finished working for, is the work ethic inside of him and what he instills and expects of his staff is incredible. Yeah. It's a great thing. I mean, there's a reason why that's one of the reasons why he's been so successul all through his career, at Nevada, before as assistants at Arizona State, LSU, in the NBA. I mean, and there's a reason why he keeps a big staff. We were talking before this call about us having 8 graduate assistants. Right. That's extremely rare.
Yes.
And Arkansas is one of the top, maybe the top or top 3 biggest staffs in the country, but it's because, we've got so much work going on. There's always projects and research and recruiting stuff, and
always.
and he wants to give that world. He wants to give the world to his players and his program in the state of Arkansas, and we're where which I learned a ton from. But being a part of a staff like that, and it's somewhere around that 18 number. You look at lose count, because that's not even counting the army of managers that we have.
Yes.
Also great people and are going to do great things in the world and the industry of college basketball. But there's just there's always stuff to do, research to be done about the game of basketball or the transfer market or the recruiting market, or all that stuff. So those responsibilities were great, and working with that staff was, I'd do it over and over again,
So something happened to you. The reason you're sitting where you're sitting right now is because of something that happened through your experience at Arkansas. What was that?
Yeah, so the way that our system was set up at Arkansas, every staff has 3 assistant coaches. The way that they split up not only the scouting reports, each scouting report, but also kind of the players specifically we called them pods, is how Coach Muss does it, where each assistant coach has a couple GAs, graduate assistants, to help them out with the scouting report or recruiting or maybe some clerical work or organization or whatever that is, just or office work, and to help with those guys, players, on the team, and everybody's coaches everybody. But that pod system, I was working with Coach, the assistant or the associate head coach, Chris Crutchfield. And obviously it was everybody's first year on the staff there. And he was coming from Oklahoma. And so I worked in his pod. I was one of his guys doing whatever he needed. And I was able to, I mentioned earlier, and we've talked before, of, being on an interview every day and showing your work and wanting to help. And that's what I did. That's what we all did. And him and I had this great rapport. We worked really well with each other. Mm-hmm. You never agree with everything that, the person beside you or in front of you saying or doing, but we had a great back and forth, thought very similarly on a bunch of stuff. And I helped him, I helped him do stuff. I helped the scouting report as much as I possibly could. And I think he respected that and ended up starting to trust me more and more. And a couple of weeks ago when he was interviewed for this job at East Central, he talked to me about joining his staff as his assistant coach when he ended up taking the job, which was awesome for me.
Yes.
It's great for many different things. Number one, being able to work with such a great person, and being able to, add him to my list of mentors, on the list with you there, has been great. So that's why I'm here today. And, hopefully I continue to be able to help him build something, and do stuff with people and help people grow.
Your program has had success in the past. It's one that is reckoned with in the Division II field. You're in Oklahoma, so East Central Oklahoma. If you're interested in where Max is and how he's doing, I can't help but think that in terms of networking, isn't it amazing how I always go back to that? You have adapted Chris Crutchfield's, not just that relationship, but you have adopted his entire network. So all of his contacts, his first degree contacts, are your second degree, which is like offering somebody the world and saying, you're either going to take advantage of this or you're not. Now, here's a better one. You're 3 degrees removed from Lon Kruger's. So let's just say everybody in basketball, okay? So between Musselman and Lon, who's kind of removed twice, and Crutchfield, you can add myself, and you can add a lot of other people that you've met along the way. I mean, you're approaching the kind of network that a guy needs to remain relevant in the profession and someday become a Division I head coach if that's your desire. And so I hope everybody listening to this understands that it isn't just, well, what's your goal? Well, I want to be a Division I head coach. Okay, great. The odds that you're going to do that are very slim, but here's some things you need to do to put yourself in a position to have a chance for something like that to happen. So you're on the way there. I don't think there's any question about that. And you've made a lot of really, really good moves. I know you're excited about your new spot. And in year 7, they're actually going to send you a check that's going to arrive once every 30 days, which would be that's like celebrating every month, man, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you and I talked about goal setting and putting stuff down on paper. And one of the first things I did was, be a full-time basketball coach.
Yeah.
And, you never know when that's going to come. I think some naive part of me at the beginning thought it would be quicker. But I mean, to be able to check that box off after so much.
Yes.
So much is just, it feels so good.
Yeah.
But there's, like you said, there's so much more work to be done, and you got to be constantly growing and thinking that way, or you're not going to be in this business very long.
Well, I'm going to encourage you to make East Central your Kentucky, because that's what you did at Arkansas, and that yielded a job because of the relationship you built with Coach Crutchfield. So continue to do that. And the world famous drummer Kenny Arnoff, my friend, said something to me about a year and a half ago, and I tell everybody this. I think this is fabulous. Okay, he's one of the most connected people in music and entertainment.
Yeah,
because he says when he shakes hands with somebody, whether it be Paul McCartney or Bruce Springsteen or whoever it is, okay, he looks through their eyes and he sees 1,000 people. He understands the power of 1 degree, 2 degrees. Now think about that. Everywhere he goes and all the people he meets, he's seen thousands of people beyond that. Now, what he does, and what you've done to an extent, is he then follows up and he then, does the research to go ahead and figure out, how am I going to get to know this guy that Paul McCartney knows really well? Well, he figures out a way, believe me. I mean, this guy is relentless, and he has one of the most powerful networks. And I've learned so much from him, but everything that applies to him applies to college basketball, without a question, and every other professional endeavor.
Absolutely. And, people don't, in this business, people don't hire people they don't know.
No.
Or at least people they can't, if I'm hiring somebody and I, trust one of my greatest friends in the industry and he tells me about somebody, okay, that's something.
Yes, it is.
That holds some, and the power of networking is so incredibly important, and to do it authentically and the way that you show people how to do that is a major piece in being, surviving in this business and thriving.
Boy, it sure is. And you'll remember in your time with me, I'm such a big fan of the slide edge, and basically the slide edge saying that the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. And so it's easy not to do a bunch of stuff during the day. You get to the end of the day and it's like, geez, I really didn't do anything with my network. I didn't do 4 of the things that I planned on doing today. And, something like picking up a piece of garbage, I do that frequently because it reminds me of the slide edge. I don't have to pick that up. Usually look at that and say, well, who's the idiot that just dropped that cup? Well, pick it up and put it in the garbage, for one. So slide edge is really a good mantra, and I talk to the guys a lot about that. A good mantra for being able to stay connected every single day and do those small things, because they add up and they have a cumulative effect that's powerful.
Absolutely. And I think you're not going to do those things if you don't see the value in it. You're not going to overcome
Very true.
I don't know what you want to call it, the laziness or the fear or the whatever of sending that note, making that call, reaching out, whatever that may be, trying to make those connections.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see and know the value in it, for several different reasons. And that's been, I think everybody struggles with that, no matter how good of a networker you are. Right. I think everybody struggles with that. So that battle is important.
Well, and what it is, that scenario is like, do I spend time and effort on something that may not yield anything at all? Well, I know what you're going to do. If you haven't already, you have communicated via note with the people at Arkansas, okay? And those assistants, okay, the Dobo and the other two guys probably are all going to become Division I head coaches. So those are guys that are huge for you to continue, even though you're not in that office every day, to continue that relationship.
Absolutely. It makes me think of, I just started a very popular book, Atomic Habits, which it's not really much of a networking book so far, at least, but, it made me think of one of the points they brought up in the beginning of the book is, they used a different analogy, but an analogy that we used at Ashland was 212 degrees, which is coined by someone else and trademarked by somebody else. But I
love that.
You push that temperature of water up and up and up, and the degree from 200 to 201 doesn't seem like it matters.
Right.
201 to 202 to 211. But then when it gets to 212, that's when water boils, and that's the breaking point. That's the boiling point.
Yes.
So, and you think, that pushing that degree from 200 to 201 when you don't see results, you think your work is for nothing. Right. No, your work isn't for nothing. It's just stored.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's, that premise, that idea, reminds me of the networking in that way where, you got to be focused on your own growth and your own job and making your job Kentucky.
Yes.
That's the first thing, but you also really got to see the value in that networking and know that your work there is being stored, not, dismissed.
I love the term being stored. I'm going to use that. You'll remember me saying many, many times that no matter how discouraged you are, no matter how many times you drop a note in the mailbox and think it's not going to do any good, every action, every effort that you make, okay, is going to pay off. It's part of your journey. Nothing is done in disregard. And so everything is an investment into where you're going. And if you don't buy into that, lock into that, boy, in this profession, because it's about building, and then opportunities collide is what happens. And the right person and the right job and the right place and the right bus stop or wherever you are, you're at Final Four and run into a guy waiting for the bus and boom, it happens. We don't know. We can't script that. And that's why a lot of guys bail out, especially young guys.
Yeah.
Because they'll contact me and I'll say, okay, here's the deal. And I give them the deal. And you can tell just some of them want, well, I didn't hear the word free lunch in there, so I don't think I'm interested. Well, good. Right. Keep going because there ain't no free lunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, parting shot. Give me a parting shot.
It's that delayed gratification, versus just you want the instant gratification. And so that delayed gratification, I think, is so important to hold that mindset through everything: coaching, recruiting, networking, whatever it is.
Well, we very much are proud of you and the journey you've taken and what you've done to make it happen. We will be following your progress, and our guest has been Max Pendery, and let's follow him at East Central University in Oklahoma, Division II, fantastic Division II program. Thanks for taking time to be on Locked In.
Coach, thanks so much for having me. It was great.
Okay, Max, good luck.
Thanks.
I really appreciate those of you that stuck around until the end of the episode. If you feel like you've gained some knowledge during this, please subscribe and share this podcast with anyone that you think would benefit. I've attached all documents and contact information in the show notes below. Check back in next Thursday for the next episode.